Why would someone sell the very machines that made them famous? For years, Cletus McFarlane built his brand on wild builds, burnout smoke, and cars fans felt emotionally attached to. So when those cars suddenly started showing up for sale, people immediately started asking questions. Was something going wrong behind the scenes? Was the channel changing? Or was there a bigger plan nobody saw coming? Because the truth is, this wasn't a random decision, and once you see the full picture, the reason Cletus is selling starts to make a lot more sense. And it might surprise you. It started with listings that fans never expected to see. Cars that had been central to some of the channel's biggest moments were suddenly being auctioned off. These weren't forgotten projects sitting in the corner of a shop. These were fan favorites, machines tied to viral videos, records, and memories. The reaction was immediate. Comments flooded in asking the same thing. Why sell the cars that built the channel? For many viewers, it felt almost personal, like pieces of history were disappearing. Some assumed he was stepping away from YouTube. Others wondered if something behind the scenes had gone wrong. But what most people didn't realize is that selling vehicles like this isn't always a sign of decline. In motorsports and high-level performance building, rotating equipment is common. Projects get replaced. Old builds fund new ones. And sometimes, letting go of one chapter is the only way to start a much bigger one. And that's where the story really begins. Because the real pressure wasn't coming from the cars themselves, it was coming from everything around them. Running a channel at Cletus McFarlane's level isn't just about turning on a camera and hitting record. Behind every video is a massive operations staff, shops, parts, transport, and equipment that cost staggering amounts of money to maintain. Performance parts alone can run into hundreds of thousands of dollars. Engines fail, drivetrains break, tires vanish in seconds. And when you're building cars designed to push limits, those costs multiply fast. What looks like fun on screen often comes with bills most viewers never see. Then there's the fleet itself. Owning dozens of vehicles isn't just about buying them. Storage, maintenance, and preparation all add up. Even sitting still, high-performance cars demand attention and money. At a certain point, keeping everything simply doesn't make sense anymore. Selling a portion of a collection can free up huge amounts of cash and space resources that can be poured into projects that create even bigger moments on camera. But the cars weren't the biggest expense weighing on him. Not even close. Because one decision changed the scale of everything overnight. Buying a racetrack isn't just a flex, it's a responsibility. When Cletus purchased the Freedom Factory, he didn't just gain a filming location. He took on the costs of maintaining an entire venue. Tracks require constant upkeep. Safety barriers, surface repairs, lighting, staffing, insurance, and event logistics all add up fast. And unlike a single car build, those expenses never really stop. They show up month after month, whether there's an event happening or not. At first, some people thought it was too big of a risk. A YouTuber owning a racetrack sounded ambitious, maybe even reckless. But the Freedom Factory quickly became one of the most unique backdrops in automotive content, hosting events that drew huge crowds and millions of views. Still, even a successful venue doesn't erase the costs of running it. If anything, growth often means spending even more to improve and expand, and that means finding funding wherever it makes sense, including selling assets that are no longer essential. But as big as the racetrack was, it wasn't the boldest move he made, because the next investment raised even more eyebrows. When news broke that Cletus had purchased a small airport, even longtime fans were stunned. This wasn't just another shop or property. This was a massive investment, the kind that ties up enormous amounts of money and carries long-term risk. Airports aren't cheap to run. There's maintenance, regulations, infrastructure, and ongoing improvements, just to keep operations running smoothly. It's a completely different scale compared to building cars or hosting track events, but it also opened the door to something bigger. Aviation content, large-scale filming opportunities, and space for projects that simply wouldn't fit anywhere else. Suddenly, the vision wasn't just about cars anymore, it was about building an entire ecosystem for motorsports and entertainment. Moves like this force tough decisions. When capital is tied up in land, facilities, and equipment, something has to give. Selling vehicles becomes less about losing something and more about reallocating resources, and right as all these major changes were happening, another factor began shaping his decisions. Something more personal and much more intense. For years, Cleetus talked about racing at higher levels, pushing beyond exhibition runs and into more competitive arenas. That kind of racing isn't cheap. Entry fees, travel, crew, engines, and preparation can drain budgets faster than almost anything else in motorsports. But for many drivers, racing isn't just content, it's a passion that never goes away. The closer he got to serious competition, the clearer it became that chasing those goals would require focus, time, and funding. There have also been emotional moments within the racing world that reminded everyone how fragile and intense the sport can be. Events like these often change how drivers think about their careers, pushing them to go all in on what matters most while they have the chance. That kind of mindset can lead to big decisions. Selling cars, streamlining projects, putting resources into experiences that mean more than just collecting vehicles. Still, fans watching from the outside weren't convinced they had the full picture, and that's when the rumors started spreading. Whenever a creator makes big changes, speculation follows. Some fans began wondering if the sales meant financial trouble. Others claimed the channel was shifting direction entirely. A few even suggested burnout or loss of interest in cars altogether. But speculation online often fills gaps where information is missing. Selling assets doesn't automatically mean something is wrong. In many industries, it's a sign of restructuring or scaling up. Businesses sell equipment, property, and inventory all the time to fund bigger ventures. What made the situation different was the emotional connection viewers had to the cars. People weren't just watching builds, they felt like they were part of them. So when those cars disappeared, it created the impression that something bigger must be happening behind the scenes. And in a way, that part was true. Just not in the way some people expected, because the real reason for selling wasn't about losing momentum. It was about building something even larger. When you step back and look at everything together, the racetrack, the airport, the racing ambitions, the expanding events, it becomes clear that Cletus McFarlane isn't downsizing. He's scaling. Selling cars frees up cash, space, and attention. Instead of maintaining dozens of vehicles, resources can go toward projects that reach millions of viewers, host thousands of fans, and create moments far bigger than a single build ever could. It's a shift from collecting to creating. From individual cars to entire experiences. And that kind of evolution is common for creators who move from small operations to full-scale businesses. To fans, it may feel like the end of an era. But in reality, it's more like the start of a new one where the projects are bigger, the risks are higher, and the stakes keep climbing. And if the past few years are any indication, the next chapter might be the wildest yet. The easiest assumption is that selling cars means stepping back. But in this case, the evidence points in the opposite direction. Every major move from buying the Freedom Factory to investing in aviation and racing suggests a creator pushing further than ever before. Growth often looks strange from the outside. It can mean letting go of things that once defined you. It can mean taking risks that don't make sense until years later. And it can mean trading short-term comfort for long-term vision. Cletus McFarlane built his name on doing things differently, and this may be another example of that mindset in action. Selling cars isn't the headline, it's just one piece of a much larger strategy unfolding in real time. And the real question isn't why he's selling, it's what he's preparing to build next. Because if history has shown anything, it's that the next move is usually bigger than anyone expects. And this time might be no different.